Welcome back, listeners, to David and Aaron's Save the World.
Save the world with David and Aaron. The Unstoppable.
I have not said that in a long time.
Oh, too long.
Sorry, go ahead. Our latency's a little bad.
It's horrible. Oh, just and see, this is the This is why we have been so long in the coming, because we are so sick of all this remote nonsense. Anyway, yes, that's all I have to say.
For those that listen in the future, the year is 2020, and it is the COVID-19 pandemic. So everything's remote. Not that this podcast wasn't remote before, but it's caused a lot of other issues that have taken our time.
Indeed.
That's why we haven't been able to podcast as often.
Indeed. Although I will say, it sounds really cool when you're like, for future listeners, the year is 2020. You're like,
sounds like a war documentary or something.
Yes. It sounds like something you like everyone knows, because it's that big of a deal. Like, people in the future will know what we're talking about when we say it was the year 20. It's like saying it was the year 1942. Like, oh, you're like, oh, did Columbus sail the ocean blue? And you're like, no, but World War happened, so, you know. This is...
I can see just like a group of bored students in a classroom watching some documentary. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's the year 2020. And they're like, oh, not this again. Do we have to learn about this again? I've already seen this documentary.
Serious. Ugh, we know it was a bad pandemic. We get it. Ugh.
Can I go back to my pod now?
Yeah. This social interaction is tiring me out to such a degree. Please release us. Maybe they'll listen to our podcast as part of a historical... Like you know, like
they play a snippet of it in the documentary, like recordings from that time.
Yeah. Like they'll be like, oh, I stumbled upon these great recordings about all this crazy, like all this craziness that was happening in the year 2020, and it'll be like the you ever watch Futurama? You didn't watch Futurama.
No, I know of it.
Okay, it's like every time they go back to the year 2000. Like in the future, they're like talking about the year 2000, and like everything's all messed up, and like they're like, this is a thing, and you're like, no, it's not. It's a pizza thing, and you're like, oh, it's just a pizza shop. Like, oh, but it sounds really
they're like assigning things the wrong way.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
So that's what it'll be like, and they'll just take a lot of what we say out of context. Ooh, that'll be good. I'm excited for that. That'll be good. I hope that happens.
That would be pretty cool to be in a documentary, I would say.
Indeed. Man, we could be in a... No. It's okay.
Too much work. I don't want to do that.
Agreed. Agreed. The podcast is plenty.
Anyways, one thing I want to bring up, though, that I think is a problem well solved, is... something I mentioned last episode about the virtual CVPR, the virtual computer science conference I attend.
Yeah. Okay.
I was kind of mentioning the format where it's all online. You go into different meeting rooms, etc., to talk to the authors and the different things they had to do with the format.
Yes, and I thought it was great.
And I thought it was awesome.
Yes.
I did it, and everything I had predicted about it was true, and the way I thought I would feel about it was also true. Like, it was so nice, so convenient. And the best thing about it is all the authors had to upload their videos. And so you could play them at double speed, which is so much better just quickly getting information. It's so nice.
Yes. Well, because some people can just talk and talk and talk, like me. I just can talk and talk. It'd be so that's amazing. I'm so happy.
Yeah. Anyway, so remember the conference is, supposed to be 4 days long. Mm-hmm. I think I maybe was in it for 5 hours total, but I could get through everything I wanted to get through in that time between the 4 days. It was so nice, so convenient. But you know what is funny? I asked some of my colleagues at my internship that I was working that summer, what they thought, and they're all older members of the, research community, and they all hated it.
Yeah. Of course
Which
they
is so
did.
funny to me. I don't know. I just didn't get it because I'm like, this was beautiful. How could you not like this?
I agree, because you know why? Because it's perfect. You don't have to talk to anyone, and you can absorb information as fast as you can. There's none of this nonsense. Yes, I love it. I don't understand. Well, I don't emotionally understand why they couldn't like it.
Well, one of the points they kept bringing up was like, oh, you don't get social network with people as much, and build networks.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this is going to sound rude, but I think it's an artifact of people attending the conferences when they were smaller 20 years ago.
Okay.
If you've been in the research community for that long, then it was only a group of like 500 people instead of, 7,000 people.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And you could slowly get to know everybody. You know that line in Avatar where I can't remember who asked, but they asked like the White Lotus how they all know each other. And the Boomy's just like, all old people know each other, don't you know? Or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That's how I feel like. That's how I feel like every time I talk to someone that's been in the computer science research community for a long time. It's just like they seem to know every other member just because I think they've been there since it was a smaller group.
Oh, man.
But for us younger guys that are just barely getting in, there's just no way we're ever going to get to know everyone in the research community. It just doesn't work. It's too big at this point.
Right. It keeps growing, and therefore you're just not going to be able to keep up with it. Plus, you're too busy doing research. Why would you bother with trying to get to know everybody when Joe Schmo over there isn't even part of your field? Like, it's not even the same related. It's computer science, but it's totally on the opposite end. Like, why would I talk to them?
Right. Well, even within computer vision, it's like, well, that person does, face detection, and I don't even do anything related to that. So it's,
right.
Why would I ever need to get to know them?
Right. I hear you. I agree. Mm-hmm.
So I'd much rather spend more time getting to see all the papers, and then getting to know 2 or 3 people that I really need to know much better, rather than getting to know a lot of different people, which you probably won't remember next time you see them.
Right. And then you have to do the whole like, oh no, I've met this person before, but I can't remember their name. And then you have to be like, hello. Or you'd like try not to talk to them because you don't know them, but you've met them before. And then they look at you and they like, oh no, they're coming over here. Like, what do we do? And yeah.
Or what I've done in the past is actually like look up who they hang out with, like which university they're with. Mm-hmm. Go to that university's computer science faculty page.
Oh no, really?
And actually find them.
Yes.
Yeah, I've done that a couple of times.
Well, that's
it's like,
genius.
I know you're at that university. Let me go to that website really quick. Oh, that's your name. That's right.
Right. And then you can know their name, and then they feel stupid for not knowing your name, and you're just like, yes. It's a way to show dominance in some way of like, yes, I remembered even though you didn't, but
right.
Yeah.
Anyways, virtual conference. Big thumbs up from me. I hope they do more like that.
Agreed. Also, a big thumbs up from me. I think we're saving the world one conference at a time. We are saving the world, okay? Because we're still having conferences. We're still furthering the cause of science and technology, and staying safe. Genius. Yes. It gets a thumbs up. Of course. And I also, for many people's sake who's not me, hope that sometime regular conferences start back up as well.
Yes.
In conjunction with.
I think that will be the one conference I will like to actually go to, is the first physical conference again. Mm-hmm. That will be nice. And then I'll be like, all right, I want to go back to remote conferences.
You go to the real one again, and it's going to be like, ooh, yes, this is why we chose the other one for a little while. Yes, we will keep doing that.
This wasn't as great as I thought it was.
Yeah.
It was more just the anticipation of seeing people again.
Right. Oh, man. That's good. I'm glad. This makes me happy. Saving the world. That's what we're about here.
Okay. Got another item to follow up.
Yes.
And So I didn't tell you this beforehand.
Okay.
I didn't want to get you too excited.
Okay.
But I did go and watch those marble races that you talked about.
You did. Yee! Okay. Okay. I'm not too. Oh, you didn't even tell. You sneak. You didn't tell me. You didn't tell me. And
I wanted to get your true reaction on the podcast.
Okay.
So I had to make sure I didn't mention it.
I'm so excited. Okay, so what'd you think? How was it? Who's your team? What's going on? Tell me everything.
Okay. So I knew you set up from the get-go. I got to choose a team, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. You have to choose, because if not, they're just marbles.
So I just watched like a couple of races without a team, just to kind of get like a feel for what was going on and how they worked.
Yeah.
And then I hoped that like my spirit animal would call to me and it would tell me which team I should, root for.
Yeah. Okay.
But to be honest, I ended up picking the O'Rangers.
What?
Because it was the easiest marble to follow on the screen. I kept losing track of the other ones if I picked them, so I had to go with the O'Rangers.
Wait, but
because it's just a bright orange.
Oh, I just okay. But did they call to you? Is your heart in it now? Are they your team, or are you just?
They kind of have to be, because I don't know. Again, I lose track of them following other ones. But I will say this: there was a race where the O'Rangers were like in second or third.
Yeah.
And I could feel myself like actually like chanting on the inside, like go,
Yeah.
Even though I know it's a dumb marble, so I was feeling that like that stupid orange marble's got to win this race because it's my orange marble.
Exactly. Like has to happen because this has to happen. They're my team. Oh, it sounds like you did it. It sounds like you were successful in. Oh, that makes me so happy. Oh, that's so good. You did it. Okay. So how many races? Which races did you watch? Where were you watching? What were you watching? Tell.
I think I was watching like the 2019 finals and qualifiers or something. I can't remember the exact ones I picked. Although I will say this, I was impressed. I thought the more fun thing was the not the races, but like the different tests they did. I thought that was really creative. Like they have to push a block.
Oh yeah.
Like they throw like 6 down, and they all have to push a block down a certain distance.
Yeah.
And there's one where they're in like some funnels, and they're trying not to go down the center. So like the last one to get to the bottom. I actually really enjoyed those the most. I thought that was the most creative and kind of entertaining.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's awesome. Oh, that's so okay. I agree. The first one that ever caught my attention that I still remember really well was balancing. I don't know if you saw those where they try to go as far as they can on just a single, like almost a single line as wide as a marble.
Right.
Right. So exciting. So exciting. And then there's those rounds where like they all just kind of fall off at the very beginning. You're like, nah. If they were not your team. If they were your team, then you weep. I don't know. I didn't weep over them, but they're just exciting. They're just you just get so into it, and it's just it's so much fun. It's way more fun because no one's actually getting hurt, and no one's feelings have to get hurt. Oh, I like it. Ooh, it's good. I like it. Oof, yes.
I do think there's one problem, though. I think that will never make me a true part of this society of marble lovers. And that is, I understand physics too much.
Okay.
So, like, once I know that a marble is in a certain spot, like, especially in the races, like, my brain does the calculations. It's like, yeah, that marble's never catching up. So, like, I stop cheering as soon as I know for sure that it's already lost.
Okay, yeah.
And so, I'm not gung ho unless it's really close to being in first. Otherwise, I'm just like, well, physics screwed you over. I'm sorry, you're not going to win this race.
That's okay. You know what? That's fair. On on most of the stuff that's I agree, that's fair. Once they're behind fifth, you're just kind of like, ooh, you're just not gonna make it. But I don't know. Some of them, maybe I just don't understand physics well enough. But some of them really surprised me, especially with the funnel one. The funnel one was weird because it's like they hit a marble, they hit each other wrong, and then like two of them would like drop through like 3 runs, and you're just like, what? Like, oh my gosh.
That is one of the reasons I liked a lot of the creative ones, because it is less predictable. You know, the races, it's pretty easy to determine who's going to finish in the top 5, like you said.
Okay, yeah.
The tests were a little bit more just random, and so it was a little bit more exciting. You know, you never knew if something was just going to collide and stop, you know, and fall down the funnel, or who knows what marbles are going to push the block farther, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So it felt much more like you're watching it in the moment, and rather than calculating what was going to happen.
Right. You're definitely not a Marbula 1 fan. You should stay in the Marble League for sure. That's yeah. Okay, yeah. Oh, that's so good. That makes me so happy. Did you watch any of the what's the one, the long jump or whatever, where they go down like a little ramp into some dirt?
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Oh, that one was fun. I liked that one. I love this stuff. I love it so much. My sister also cheers for the O-Rangers, my older sister, and yeah, they're yeah, I don't like the O-Rangers, but that's okay because
a little bit of rivalry there.
Just a little bit. They're just so like they just so I don't know.
Just so you know, Aaron, if they were painted a different color, I wouldn't root for them either. Oh. So it is purely an optical decision.
But what about the Green Ducks? Are easy to follow too.
Yeah, but they were always in last. I don't know. It's the ones I watched. They always were not very close to front. So
I agree. I agree. Yeah, the Green Ducks. They're not.
I'm not gonna cheer for a loser, especially coming into a new sport.
Shots fired, Green Ducks. What you gonna do about it, huh? Nothing. Because you're marbles. That's why.
There is one other problem with this marble race, though.
Okay.
And that is that the regular sports have started back up. And so now I can go back to watching those. So the interest for the marble ones has died back down for me. But
yeah, okay. Well,
I'll keep it on my radar, though.
Yeah. We'll get together when they do when they finally release like the full Marble Olympics or something. We'll get together and get some wings or something and watch it. It'd be great. Oh.
I was gonna say, generally during the summer, sports are awful anyways, because once basketball's done, you know, all you have is like baseball and golf, and I'm not a big fan of either of those. So
right.
In that break between like mid-June to mid-August, somewhere in there, would be a good time for me, because I'd be aching and itching for sports in that moment. So
perfect.
Just keep that in mind.
Okay. I will. Those are the hot summer months. That's perfect. You just stay inside and watch marble races. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sounds like a plan. Ooh, I'll keep it in mind.
Okay. So now I have one more follow-up item.
Is this another surprise follow-up, or are we done?
No, this is the one we talked about.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So,
okay, good.
Just for the listeners, just so you know, I have confirmed this beforehand. Aaron has watched the Current Wars.
I did finally, after last episode's embarrassment, or 2 episodes ago, or whenever it was. Man, I watched it though. We watched the Current Wars. We both watched it. We were excited for it. We're bringing back Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla for another round of talking about them. I'm excited.
Because if it's one thing we've learned about ourselves during this podcast, is that we'll never stop being curious and analytical about movies. Mm-hmm. And historical figures.
Excellent. This is true. I can confirm 100% that these are things that maybe not that I have learned, but that this podcast has definitely confirmed to me that this is something that I can do all the time, forever. It's exciting. It's fun. It's great. Who doesn't love it?
So movies with history, that's just going to be double analytical. So buckle up, listeners. It might get deep in just a minute here. So keep that in mind.
Yes. 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 So, well, obviously the spoiler warning. So, David, what did you think of this movie?
Okay. So I thought long and hard about how I would decide my rating on this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so rather than give an overall rating or ranking, I'm going to give you my rating of each of the main characters separately.
Ooh.
And how well it was portrayed.
Okay. Okay. I like this. I like this a lot.
So, first rating, Edison.
Okay.
I give that an A for how well Benedict Cumberbatch was able to represent the mentality and the persistence of Edison.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely get the feel, right? I was worried that they were going to like turn him into a hero or something, right? Like the same old story we heard in kindergarten.
Yeah.
They definitely did not do that.
Right.
And I thought it was good. Like they didn't just start him out as this like cruel, evil businessman. Mm-hmm. Although I would have been fine if they did that. But they did a good job of showing that like he lost his wife, which was a big deal. I didn't realize that actually before the movie, that his wife had died. That was really insightful. Something like that can really change a person.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Especially, I don't know how much of their portrayal was accurate, but especially such a strong supporter of what he did is what it felt like to me. Or was it?
Right.
I can't remember now.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of moments where she complains that he's not around enough and that type of thing because he's constantly working. But you still feel that weight when she passes away, and you feel what happens to Edison. So they did a really good job of that.
Okay.
And showing how things just kind of built up to him wanting to maintain his status and his image, and all the other things that happened with like him losing different people to Westinghouse, right? The different cities to Westinghouse.
Yeah.
How he kind of mistreated Tesla and all sorts of things. The whole electric chair debacle where he didn't want to be responsible for it, but he still was kind of sending letters secretly. Turns out that's not exactly how it happened.
Okay.
We'll talk about that in a bit.
Okay.
But I think overall, movie-wise, cinematography-wise, and pretty much historically, they did a really good job of representing Edison and giving a clear picture that he wasn't just, this American hero. He really became someone that was really involved in the business side and became kind of greedy, had lost a lot of things in his life. And they do give him kind of a redemptive moment at the end, which I also think was good. I don't think he's someone that you should completely disregard because he did a lot of good things for us. But he's not a hero in terms of his moral character during that time.
Right.
That makes sense.
Exactly. As we have discussed, yes, I agree. Yes.
Okay. So if it's okay, I'll keep moving on and then I'll ask your opinion.
No,
in the same way.
I'm ready for, I want you to keep hitting me with these analysis. It helps me remember the movie too, because I have a famously bad memory. So we're good. I'm good. I'm ready.
Okay. So, Portrayal of Westinghouse.
Okay, yeah.
I'd give it like a B+.
Okay.
Okay. Mostly for some historical inaccuracies.
Ooh, do tell. Okay.
So, I think, I don't remember the actor's name, but the guy that played Westinghouse did a really good job. And they did a good job of showing that kind of rivalry that they had because they were going with the different systems. Mm-hmm. And that was causing this competition, and Westinghouse was kind of more down to earth, and Edison was kind of greedy and everything. So I really like that comparison, especially that scene when they're trying to win the World's Fair, and Edison has this big spiel that he has Tom Holland go do for all those executives that run the World Fair and everything.
Yeah,
and then Westinghouse just kind of comes in and he's like, "Well, we're cheaper," like. He doesn't have this big presentation.
Right.
He just knows that he has the better product, so he doesn't have to like
big it up,
sell it. So I like that they kind of showed that and I don't know a ton about Westinghouse's personality, but I imagine with just the things I know historically about what happened, that'd be more of his style of being down to earth and just using the product that he had and selling that as much as he could.
Right, yeah.
I also really liked and didn't like. They show that moment where, again, Edison's kind of hiding the fact that he's kind of helping propose the electric chair and everything.
Yeah.
And then Westinghouse kind of exposes his letters, right? And it's kind of this big deal, and he kind of throws him under the bus, if you will, and Westinghouse is kind of all freaking out because it's not really his character, and his wife is actually kind of congratulating him for finally doing it, you know?
Oh, yeah, that threw me for a loop. That was weird. Like, I was, oh man, that was like, what? You're happy about this? Like, okay, I guess we're happy. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, so there's kind of this moral, or this internal conflict in himself about whether he should do that. And so, again, the letter thing actually never really happened.
Okay.
Edison wasn't really secretive, and he wasn't necessarily trying to blame it on Westinghouse, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But he specifically had used AC current as a way to show how dangerous it was. I think they kind of show that with the horse that he electrocutes at the beginning.
Yeah.
So he's kind of using it as slander, but I don't think, it was my understanding, he was ever truly secretive about kind of helping the electric chair come to what it was. And so what they're really showing more of is that Westinghouse was constantly fighting this battle with Edison, where it wasn't really a battle of what product was better. It was more of Edison just constantly throwing propaganda towards AC current and Westinghouse constantly had to put money towards, campaigning and showing the benefits of AC.
Right.
And I can't remember the quote, but he basically said that he never felt like he wanted to get in this battle of politics rather than the battle of science.
Okay, yeah.
And just what was better. Anyway, so I think the letter was kind of a way to show that effectively. Yeah. But it's not really historically accurate.
Okay.
In that regard.
Okay. That's interesting.
At least not the way they portrayed it.
Right. It wasn't quite so sneaky beaky.
So another thing, right, that kind of goes along with that, they show this scene where he has his friend that's trying to build the AC motor. And his friend gets electrocuted while he's working on it. And then Edison kind of uses that more as propaganda and stuff.
Right, yeah.
That electrocution actually happened like 10 years or 5 or 10 years after the World's Fair.
Oh, what?
So they moved it ahead of time to kind of show what Edison was using to smear Westinghouse, but it's not quite historically accurate.
Okay.
So overall, I think those kinds of things, I like how they portrayed them. Again, there's a couple things I saw, and I was like, I don't think that's how it quite happened. And you look it up, and it's not quite the way it works out.
That's not quite how it happened. Yeah.
Yeah, and so just a couple of things like that where I just couldn't quite accept it. And so, but still a really good job and really good cinematography-wise, so give them a B+.
Okay.
All right, last one. Well, so one of the characters isn't really a huge character. Tom Holland. Great job. I just love Tom Holland.
Yeah,
he's a good actor.
Thumbs up. He did fantastic. That was yes. Okay. Yeah, I agree.
So nothing really there. Plus, I don't really know his character historically.
Right.
I don't really know much about Edison's assistant.
He seemed more like a movie element to kind of use him as almost as a sounding board or a reflection so that we can understand Edison better.
Right. Yeah. I don't think historically it was as important as it was shown. So maybe it was. I don't know. Anyways, but I think you're right. I think it was more of a cinematographer's tool rather than an actual historical piece that was important.
Yeah.
Okay. So all those guys, really high grades.
Yeah.
Tesla.
Yeah.
D-.
Ooh. D-. Why not just fail him?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna fail him, but I felt like the actor did well with what he was given.
Okay.
But the movie's choices of how they used Tesla and what they showed about Tesla was just awful. It was so bad.
Okay.
Tesla doesn't even seem like part of the story. Did you feel like that? I felt like they almost just kind of put him in there because they felt like he was supposed to be in there.
I agree. I was kind of waiting for him to be a big deal, and then he just never was. And it was kind of like, what about Tesla? Like I kept waiting for him to do something, and it felt like he never did anything. And I was kind of like, but I thought he was supposed to be some kind of genius or something. And I get like I thought the actor did a fine job. You know, he was acting kind of crazy, but also kind of like a genius. Like I was like, oh yeah, I don't know. And at some points I felt it was believable.
Right.
But then like, what's he doing? You know, what's the whole point of having him around if you're not going to use him?
Right.
Yeah.
So let me start off with a few good things, and then we'll get to the bad things.
Okay.
So, like you said, the actor did a pretty good job of, you know, trying to represent Tesla as this kind of crazy, eccentric scientist, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the scenes I did appreciate was when he's giving that kind of presentation on the AC motor, and the people in the audience are like, well, where's the example?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I built it in my head, you know, like,
yeah, it's built.
I'm positive it works.
Yeah.
There's many stories where Tesla couldn't actually explain what he was trying to describe.
Really?
And his assistants would kind of have to explain everything for him because he wouldn't write things down, and he had lots of things in his head. Kind of like, you know, when like a toddler talks and the slightly older sibling knows what they're saying, you know?
Okay, yeah.
Because you can't understand them, but they're like, oh, they're saying this and this and this.
Right. Okay.
It was kind of like that with Tesla and his assistants. Like, Tesla had a weird way of describing things, and everything was in his head, and he wouldn't write things down, and so his assistants would kind of have to put the pieces together and explain it better than he could, and things like that. Anyways,
right.
So lots of weird things like that. They also showed something that was important, that Tesla did work for Edison.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember in the movie, that part was so short.
Yeah.
But the big part was Tesla was promised that big bonus for all those patents.
Yeah.
And then Edison never gave him the bonus. I think they show that. It's so brief that I forgot to do it, but I think they point that out.
No, but that's something that came up.
I felt like that should have been a much bigger moment. Like, oh, now there's this rivalry going on between Tesla and Edison, but they never really, again, explained that.
Yeah. I agree that I just remember it being kind of weird where like Tesla comes in just kind of jabbering to Edison, and Edison's just like, I can't talk to you, you know, and he's all grumpy about it. And it's just like they don't ever like, it's just kind of like they never mesh and they never get along, and you're just kind of like, ooh, this isn't gonna go well. And then I do remember that he was kind of like, well, where's the promotion, and he never gets it, and so he leaves.
Right. So sadly, that was the two kind of good parts.
Oh no.
So let's get to the bad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The worst part is they never explained really at all Tesla's part in all of this.
Yeah.
They were so bad about showing where he kind of lies in the history.
Mm-hmm.
The real story is that at the beginning when he works for Edison, he's trying to get him these patents, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know all the details of all the patents, but a lot of them are trying to show him basically that switching from a DC current to an AC current would be way easier for a lot of machines. And he built a lot of machines for DC current anyways.
Yeah.
And then when Edison doesn't give him that bonus, he quits. He ends up digging ditches for a while, like just in New York, because he can't get another job. He tries to start that other business, but he's a weird Croatian man back then, you know.
Right,
no one knew who he was. He was a foreigner.
Didn't go well, yeah.
He was kind of crazy, and so his business never took off. And that's when Westinghouse kind of brought him on. And the key thing that Tesla did, which again they didn't explain very well in the show, was that he came up with the first really usable electric motor based on AC current. And DC current at that time could not run an electric motor.
Okay.
At least not efficiently.
Yeah.
And so Tesla's piece was showing Westinghouse that if they used AC current, they could build an AC motor. And that's why Westinghouse became super competitive was because it was cheaper and you could run these motors on them.
Right. Okay. They just didn't even, like, I don't remember them talking about that at all in the movie.
It's so brief and so subtle that it's hard to even recognize. And another thing about Tesla is that they kind of just show him as, he does this thing, and then he's kind of on the sidelines. But he was constantly in the engineering process. They kind of just show Westinghouse always in his factory or whatever by himself, his office. But it's like Tesla was a huge piece of that because he was constantly building the infrastructure that AC was running on. We have the infrastructure we have today for electricity because of Tesla and Westinghouse.
Wow.
But they show it just like Tesla was not the piece. Like Tesla was the kind of the main engineer behind all this, you know?
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm sure there's lots of other people that were involved. But like, even if he wasn't the only piece, he definitely wasn't just the side minion, you know, that never gets mentioned, you know,
right,
in the story.
Yeah, that's just kind of there, I guess. Sometimes I don't really remember. I remember him and Westinghouse having a conversation, and that's like it. Like that's the biggest thing I remember from Tesla is that they talked at one time in his hotel room, and that was it. I'm just kind of like, I don't remember anything else really.
Yeah, the biggest thing was just like it was Edison versus Westinghouse, but really it was like Edison versus Westinghouse and Tesla. Like that was, they should have been more one piece rather than Tesla just being off to the side.
Right.
One of the things that I thought was really cool that they actually don't mention, that's actually part of the history, is that Westinghouse was actually almost going bankrupt from all the bids for the World Fair and fighting against Edison with propaganda and all the marketing and all this stuff. All that fighting kind of drained him financially. And he actually owed Tesla millions of dollars for all of his royalties and contracts and patents and everything.
Yeah.
And Tesla actually ripped up his royalties contract because he knew that Westinghouse would go bankrupt without him doing that.
Oh, man.
So he did all that work, and then he just tore up this huge paycheck he should have gotten. And he just said, better inventions are ahead.
Oh, man.
So that's really cool. And that's like, why didn't they show that? Like, that's an amazing piece of history.
Seriously, that's like a true hero's moment. I just want to be like, he's a hero. Like, oh man, what? That's crazy. And they didn't even mention that. That's kind of
Yeah. Well, Westinghouse is still a company you can go buy electronics from today, right?
I can? What?
Yeah, there's like Westinghouse TVs. Like, look them up. You can still. Westinghouse is still an electrical company you can buy products from.
Huh.
Think about that.
Oh.
Obviously, they're not as prominent as they were back then, but again, all the infrastructure we have is because of Westinghouse and Tesla. Like, we owe a lot to them.
Wow. Man, he still had he had a gnarly beard in real life. His face hair in the movie was really good. I thought the actress was really cool. But like, man, this guy had like some face hair. He's good.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's so cool. I just didn't even consider that they might still be around. I kind of accepted it like, oh yeah, Westinghouse, this company that used to exist that was big at one time.
Yeah, and a lot of people didn't realize that General Electric is Edison's company. Like,
oh yeah,
I appreciate they made a big deal about that he wanted it to be called Edison Electric or something. I can't remember.
And they were like, no, the investors in that shiny fancy room were like, no,
right,
no way, man. That's so cool.
Okay, I have one last gripe.
Okay, I'm ready.
And then I'm done.
One
with my
last
analysis.
gripe. Okay, I'm ready.
So, when Tesla has his like own little company, right, that's falling down and failing, right?
Yeah.
There's a scene where he has a little tower on a table, and they're like coming to clean out all this stuff, and he just kind of grabs it so they don't touch it. Does that sound familiar at all when you're thinking back?
I can't
remember. They're closing down.
What? How far into the movie was it?
It's about halfway. It's right before Westinghouse brings him on. His company's just failing, and he's in his little office with the glass windows, and they're basically telling him they're shutting down.
Maybe. Is it one of those? Yeah, no, I remember the tower. I think I remember the tower. Looks like a little like sphere on the top, radio tower. Yeah,
type
yeah.
thing.
It's the weird the Tesla coil tower or whatever that's like bzzz, it makes electricity all over the place.
Okay, so this is my biggest beef of the movie.
Okay.
Okay, not my biggest beef, but it just bugged me to no end.
Okay, yeah.
Everyone thinks that tower is a Tesla coil,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
But it's actually supposed to be a representation of what was called Wardenclyffe. It was actually a huge tower that was built to try and be kind of the first radio station.
Mm-hmm.
Even before they had radio, Tesla was imagining this tower, and he got this funding to build what is now called Wardenclyffe to send. He was going to send signals, and he actually wanted to electrify the ground,
Right.
to send power wirelessly.
Right.
And a lot of people have heard that, but that tower is supposed to represent Wardenclyffe. It actually never came to fruition because Marconi invented the radio short after, and he lost funding after Marconi
Okay, yeah.
basically did what he was going to do, which is ironic because Marconi stole a lot of Tesla's patents.
Oh,
Or
seriously?
used a lot of his patents without permission.
Oh man. Oh man.
Yeah, so much that actually Tesla now has the official recognition as the inventor of the radio, not Marconi.
Wow.
Because he stole so many. Yeah, they actually, I can't remember what official judge made that decision, but in some court of law, they actually gave Tesla the recognition for inventing the radio.
Wow, that's crazy. Oh, that's good. That makes me feel pretty good actually. But yeah. Oh, they have. Oh, they took it down. I was gonna see if I could go see it still, but no, they destroyed it.
There's just like a little where the operations building is. You can still see that if you have special permission. But yeah, the tower is down.
Oh, lame.
Anyways, but something like that drives me crazy. Because who in the world, other than a physics teacher that loves the history of this time period, is going to know that that little tower represents Wardenclyffe?
Right.
And they take the point, like, if it was just, like, in the side of the office and they never mention it, like, okay, like, that's fine. That's cool. You know, that's a little Easter egg, if you will.
Yeah, yeah.
But, like, they make the specific point to have him, like, go grab it and be, like, protective of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no one's going to understand what that represents. No one's going to understand that that's some future dream of his.
Right.
You know, like...
But they never mention again in the movie. Like...
Yeah, they never mention again. It has no point, and it has no reference to this particular part of the timeline, you know?
Right, right. It was just like one of his little things that he just had to grab, you know, when you're getting kicked out or whatever.
Yeah, so it's just like, why take the time to point that out when... You know, it's not like Star Wars where if you have an Easter egg, like all the fans get super excited. You know, this is some random obscure historical moment that no one's going to realize unless they really like this time period.
Right, right.
So instead of making people like me happy, it just makes me bitter.
It just makes you right.
I'm just like, well, what are you doing? You know, like, what's the point?
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's like it would have been better if they had just left it out, if they just hadn't said anything, but then they had to drag it in here, and now you grumpied up my David, and that's no good. That's a thumbs down. It's also a thumbs down that they demolished it. I'm really sad. I would have gone and seen that.
Yeah, it's a cool building. Looks like a Eiffel Tower with a giant power orb on the top or something.
yeah, that's the one. If you're gonna build an Eiffel Tower, at least like show some dominance with it.
It also looks like a tower that could be in Power Rangers though at the same time. So
yeah. Hey,
it's like a villain's base in a Power Rangers show.
It was the 1900s. What do you want? Oh, that's great.
Okay, I think I've let out all of my rage and ranting about this. So, did you have any additional thoughts on this?
I appreciate getting to talk about this with you because you have a lot of I think we should maybe watch this movie again in a couple of years together, just because you have so much knowledge about the movie. One of my biggest complaints, and also one of the things I liked the most about the movie, was there is no time to stop or think or even like there was one part I was about halfway 3/4 of the way through the movie and my wife like started talking to me about something and I had to pause the movie. I had to pause it because
Right.
I knew there was no way I was going to keep up with the story. It was from the very first stuff. I just I felt like I was behind, and I felt like I was trying to keep up with the whole movie because it was so fast paced and the information was coming so quick in these little like snippets,
That's a good point. I didn't think about that as much because I think I obviously understand the timeline a little bit more. So, but I can see that it does move really fast. So if you're not familiar with the pieces, it feel like they were coming really quickly.
Yeah.
And which, as you say, is good because it always feels like it's moving, but also bad because you can't process as much.
Right. And so I had to pay my full attention to the film, which is a lot of films demand my attention, but like visually or like I have to pay attention because I'm watching a movie that I've never seen before. But this one, it was like if I didn't watch it, I would not be able to even know what was going on in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
I just felt so out of the loop. Like the first, I think like one of the first scenes is him, Edison cruising past Westinghouse on a train because they were supposed to have some kind of meeting, and I like barely picked up on that. I was like barely understanding,
Right.
like, oh, that was Edison. He was supposed to meet with Westinghouse. They were maybe going to be business partners, but I guess not. But then we're moving. Next thing, and it was. I both found it impressive and really difficult to follow, which I don't know. I don't know if that's a bad thing. I thought it was fun. I thought it was nice. A nice change of pace from a typical movie arc that's got this like they're talking in the very beginning.
Sorry, just one quick note.
Yeah.
Interesting fact is they don't know if Westinghouse and Edison actually ever met in person. That's another historical fallacy per se, is they show that meeting at the end in the World's Fair. We actually don't know if Edison and Westinghouse ever met because I don't think Edison actually went to the World's Fair because he was so bitter about not getting it. And I don't think that story about the train, him not coming on the train, is true either.
Okay.
So anyways, again, lots of things like that where I get a little bugged because I'm like, was that? That's not really true. I don't think, anyways.
Right.
Continue on.
And I always,
Sorry.
You're good. I always, kind of give movies a lot of leeway just because I understand, at least I feel like I understand to some degree that the telling of a movie requires manipulation of historical facts in a way to make the movie not boring or lame or, you want an interesting movie. And so sometimes you have to kind of stretch things and twist things and infer things and lie about things. But I can give movies a lot of that oftentimes. I thought the cinematography was just incredible. I thought it was really striking and very different from anything I had ever seen before, which made me happy. That's what I expected after seeing the trailer, honestly.
Right.
But it was just so, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. Like, it was just so fresh and new. It doesn't even compare to anything that I can remember, really.
Right. And you could appreciate that more, I think, because you weren't constantly analyzing the historical facts.
Right. I had no idea what was going on for the most part. There was the bit about the guy who was put in the first man to be electrocuted in the electric chair. Was any of that true? Was that all true? Like, that was pretty weird.
That was actually one of the more historically correct parts of the movie.
Okay.
So he did kill his wife with an axe.
And then turned himself in
because he was just like stinking drunk or something. So he was put on death row. Mm-hmm. And so for some reason, he was determined to be the first person they were going to kill with an electric chair.
Right.
And they did actually botch it the first time.
Okay.
So they put too low of a voltage the first time, so he didn't die.
Yeah.
And then they put too high of a voltage the second time they electrocuted him, and he just like fried, like way beyond what he was supposed to.
Oof.
And so, yeah, they totally botched the voltages in the first electrocution. And so you'll hear, there's a famous quote, I think, from some newspaper that said it was a death worse than hanging.
Right.
Or a sight worse than hanging. Which is funny because it was supposed to be this, more ethical way of killing people compared to, traditional ways. But that first time, it was actually really bad. It did not go to plan.
And I understand. The movie made that seem like it was kind of like, I do remember that this one stuck with me. This part stuck with me really well. They talked a lot about how that was like there was in the correspondences with Edison and whatnot, the letters that are fudged somewhat. They like didn't know, like they were like trying to figure it out, and they just didn't know what to do, like how much to use.
Right.
Like, did they just not know? Did they just not have any idea? Because obviously they'd electrocuted other things before.
Again, I don't know exactly how much consultation Edison did.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think the fudge part is more that it was him trying to stay secret. I think he was more open about the fact that he was helping with this.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, the hard thing is they had electrocuted other things, like horses and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, brain tissue is basically what you're killing, right, when you're in an electric chair, and
Okay.
Stopping the heart and other things. And you just have to remember, like, this is the 1800s. Like,
Oof. Yeah. Okay.
there wasn't a lot of sophisticated ways of calibrating things back then. So, but like that's true. Like they just generally didn't know how much to put in for a human. So
interesting. That's really interesting. That was pretty horrifying. Like I was pretty like, what? Like they just mention it briefly at the end of the movie of like, oh yeah, by the way, like they tried and they like electrocuted him like a bunch of times or something, and I was just like, what? Like it didn't work? Like, oh, that's not good. Like, yeah. I was really sad for the kind of crazy human rights advocate guy.
Oh yeah.
That was pushing for the chair. He was like, "Oh yes, we are looking for a humane way to kill people, and this seems like a good way." And then it's like, "Oh, it went really bad." And I'm like, "Oh, that poor guy. He got a lot of bad press."
Well, and again, keep in mind that soon thereafter they did figure it out. So
right. There's nothing like getting it wrong the first time to help you fix it.
Right. Well, and it is funny, just a historical perspective is like, back then it's like, oh, that was a humane way of killing people. But now it'd be like, electric chair, like that's a terrible way to kill someone.
How could you do that? Right, yeah.
But like, again, that's from our perspective because we know things like lethal injection and other methods. Like, so electric chair just sounds like a horrible way.
Right.
But back then compared to what they would do, you know, it's like, oh yeah, this is way better just to sit in a chair and die rather than be hung or shot or, you know, whatever it was.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They're like, oh yeah, we'll just take care of it. Easy peasy. Moving along. I found the scene where Edison's wife dies and he's at the funeral or shortly thereafter, and shortly thereafter actually. The way they filmed that really impressed itself upon my mind of just, I don't know. I thought it was a really good way of portraying the potential. I don't know any of this, you know, I've never experienced anything like that. And so I thought it was an incredible way of demonstrating and communicating the distress and grief and the horrible thing that this was for Edison.
Right.
And just the way that it affected him. I don't know. I just remember the scene that I remember most clearly is when he's walking through the funeral, walking through the house or whatever with all the people who are there to mourn, and the camera's just on his face and it's like dead silent and he's just walking, and it just kills me inside. It almost haunted me a little bit because it's like, oh, that's how it's gonna be. Like that's how it is. That's how it must be. It was I thought it was done really well. Again, the cinematography I found just really interesting and engaging.
That's true. That is a good point.
Maybe you can explain. I remember being really confused by the things that Westinghouse and Edison said to each other at the World's Fair. Like apparently that. So now I learned from you that probably didn't happen, but
right.
I can't remember what they said, and I just remember what they said was really confusing. And I just felt so like, what? Like, are we cool now? Like, what's going on?
Right. I think, again, Edison didn't go to the World's Fair. So that meaning,
right.
We don't know if they ever met, but that meeting definitely didn't happen
Okay,
at the World's Fair, if it did happen.
Right.
So that's all made up dialogue. I think what they were trying to show is, again, more of a historical piece here. Or, sorry, not a historical piece, but trying to kind of tie in some loose ends historically. Because Edison eventually did kind of turn to other things and stopped focusing on electricity because he realized he was losing that battle. And so I think what they were trying to say at the end, what that was supposed to represent really was, we're no longer fighting. Maybe they don't necessarily agree with each other, but we're no longer fighting, and we have different ways we're going to go. Or I didn't remember it very well either.
Right, okay.
Because I was like, I'm not quite sure what this is supposed to be representing, but I'm pretty sure this didn't happen.
Right, yeah.
I said that a lot during the movie, now that I think about it. I'm pretty sure that didn't actually happen.
Oh, man. Yeah,
Anyways.
maybe I feel lucky that I didn't know very much going into it, because I just accepted the whole thing. I was like, yeah, that's probably how it happened. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, whatever, that's fine.
Right. Anyway, so I think that was their tool for showing that there was a clear moment when they stopped being so competitive and they just kind of let things die off, and Edison kind of went his separate ways.
Right. Okay. Dang, I don't have very many complaints about the movie. This far gone from it. It has been a little while since I watched it, so I should have watched it again. I should have watched it 3 times so that I'd have lots of things to say about it. But
well, now you can watch it again, given the historical side. Well, maybe you shouldn't, because then you won't enjoy it as much. But
I'll be sitting there, and David will be in the back of my mind, and he'll just say, "Nah, no, didn't happen. No way."
You'll just constantly say to everything, I'm not sure if that happened. I'm not sure his wife really died. I'm not sure Westinghouse really was a person. I think they're just making this up.
Seriously, is Westinghouse even a company? Did they even exist? Is the electricity even real? Come on. I don't think any of this is real.
This is one of those made up stories for Hollywood. Electricity is just a figment of your imagination.
Yes, and yes. It wouldn't be crazy. I don't know. Electricity, I'll tell you one thing. Electricity is one of those things that, try as I might, I still cannot get my head around it. It's like magnetism. I'm still what's going on? I don't quite, but that's a topic for another day. It's
kind of funny that you mentioned electricity and magnetism, because they're actually the same side of one force. So that's another thing to just ponder on later.
No wonder.
So they're actually just one thing that you really just don't understand: electromagnetism.
Well, and it's I've had it explained to me in a lot of different ways, but I just can't. It does my head in, because it's magic. It's 2 pieces of metal that somehow want to be friends, or don't want to be friends, and it does my head in. So I'll work on that later, and I'll ponder on that some more for the rest of my life, probably, and hopefully understand it someday. But
you'll be on your deathbed, and you'll be like, I finally get it, and then you'll keel over. And
you know what? I think I might be okay with that, as long as I can understand it someday. I can understand. Well, I can't. Gravity is another one of those things that does my head in a little bit. We get a lot of stuff together, and it just kind of pulls other stuff. What? I don't get it. But anyway.
Sounds like you need to take my physics class.
I would love to take your physics class. You recorded it all, didn't you? You should send me those recordings.
Yeah.
I should take your physics class, because I understand that it is a force, but it's I don't understand. Why would it? Why does this happen? I don't understand any of it. And it's crazy. It seems like crazy nonsense, except for that it's observed every day, and so I have no question that it does exist. Anyway.
Okay, I'll send you some videos.
Please do. I have been wanting to dive back into physics actually a little bit, because physics is so fun. It's so interesting.
All right, are we ready for overall ratings? If you had to give it one rating, or sorry, did you have any other feedback?
Oh, no, there was one more part that I thought was really, really, really interesting. It's when, what's his face? Spider-Man. What's his bucket?
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland, thank you. Tom Holland, as the assistant, goes to that same meeting where he's proposing he has the whole spiel about why they should use DC for the World's Fair or whatever. And they're talking about like how AC is really dangerous, you know, and AC is killing things or whatever. They've been keeping up with the news, and Tom Holland's like, oh yeah. Also, just to be clear, any current over like anything over this amount, any electric current over this amount, is fatal. Like can be fatal in either AC or DC. And they were just kind of like, what?
Right.
And I like, was he accidentally? I felt like he was accidentally like throwing everyone under the bus, throwing Edison under the bus, and being like, just to be clear, DC will kill people too.
Right.
Is that what happened?
I don't know what we know about the actual proposal process.
Right.
So I'm guessing that dialogue was for the movie.
Right.
And probably just to make it clear as well that for people that don't know the details of electricity, that yes, like it's not anything that's super wrong with AC, just like currents, high voltage currents will kill you.
Right.
And AC happens to be a higher voltage than DC generally is.
Oh, okay. Man, see, you know, I need to go watch this movie again. But that's it. That's all my follow-up. I am ready to give it a rating.
Okay. So if you had to give it an
What
overall.
would you give it?
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
I wanted you to go first.
Oh, I can go first.
I will go first. I heard you first before I said it, so I think I have to do it first.
Okay.
That's how it officially works. Whoever said it first, the other person has to do it.
Got it.
So if I had to give an overall rating, I think I'd go B-.
A B-. Okay.
Or should I do 3.5 stars for you?
3.5 stars. Just kidding. I was wondering what scale we were going to use. As soon as you were like, I would give it and I was like, what scale are we using? I know like 5 different scales to rate movies on. Like, and then of course you said B-, and I was like, oh yeah, because he's a teacher. Obviously this is how he's going to think about it in grades.
Just a side note, after this, I did actually make that scale of emojis that we talked about. So,
you did? How do you do so many things? That's amazing. I'm so excited.
I'll show you that in a second. But
okay,
what's your grade on a teacher scale?
Okay, on a teacher's scale, that's good. I think I'd give it a B+.
Okay.
For the bare reasons that I feel like I don't remember enough from watching the whole movie, and also that it like the way that the information was conveyed was too much. But I enjoyed it, but I don't remember it, and that really irks me. That keeps it from getting an A, but I know that I enjoyed it a lot, and so I give it a B. And a little bit of a plus because you gave it a minus. So we'll equal it out at a B. Give it a solid B rating. Okay. Ooh, that's good.
That might also just be representative. Maybe that just means we both gave it a B, but I'm just a pessimist and you're an optimist, and so
right.
We really had the same rating in our minds, but somehow we ended up giving it different scores.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. Well, see, I remember liking it. And you remember all the historical inaccuracies. So it's like, it's a B, but you're a minus and I'm a plus. So guys, I see, I got it. It's a B. Okay. If my favorite scale to rate movies on is the thumb scale, where it's either a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and I would give it a thumbs up personally. Okay. Of like, yeah, I think it's a good movie to watch. Like I thought it was worth watching, and it was worth other people watching. Like thumbs up.
Right. I think, so this is a hard one for me if you're doing that scale.
Uh-huh.
I'd say a general audience, thumbs up.
Okay.
Because at least you're going to have more information. It's a good movie, first of all, and you'll have more information about this scenario than you probably would have had otherwise.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
But if like you're a student in my class and I want you to learn about current wars, then this is a thumbs down. Because don't use it as reference material, I guess is the thing I would say. So as long as you're not using it in that regard, then thumbs up. If you're using it to enjoy a movie and learn about a time period, then go on ahead.
It's great.
I think it's a good movie.
Okay.
Definitely like a thumbs down if you want to learn more about Tesla. Not a good indicator of learning about Tesla.
That's a straight F for me on learning about Tesla. I learned basically nothing other than that I got to see him being kind of crazy, which I don't know if that's how he was crazy, but I got to see a kind of a crazy guy. So
right.
F failed. That fail, strong fail.
Okay, listeners. So I just showed Aaron the scale, and it's in the show notes for last episode, and I'll make sure to put in the show notes for this episode. The scale that I made of emojis that we talked about. And so I'm hearing for the first time what Aaron thinks of this scale and what he approves and disapproves of my ordering. So what are your thoughts, my friend?
Tisk. It's good, but it's not by any means perfect. Do not think this. So of course the best we have the sledgehammer. Which
the mighty sledgehammer.
The mighty sledgehammer, which the emoji you've chosen, I like it a lot. I don't know if I love it, but I like it a lot.
I appreciate that it's golden, but there was no sledgehammer emoji. It was just a hammer. So I was really disappointed there wasn't a golden sledgehammer, because then that would be perfect.
Right. Because a sledgehammer is just like a big piece of metal on the end of a stick. Like a hammer has form and shape and uses beyond bashing things. But a sledgehammer is just a big metal on an end of a big stick. And that makes me really sad that they don't have a sledgehammer emoji just kicking around. Ugh. Okay, but here's my biggest gripe, okay? I'm going to count. Okay. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. A glass of water is 8th down on your list. That gets.
I was wondering what you would think about that.
That should be second, at least second. It's almost in my mind. It's almost a strong contender for first. I have the affinity for water, and you put it 8th. Okay. So unacceptable.
Well, let me do this first.
Okay.
Before I justify that, because I think this will help justify a little bit.
Oh, you're gonna try and justify this to me. Excellent.
Let's just list off for the listeners in case they can't see this what the emojis are.
Oh, okay.
So the first one is the mighty sledgehammer.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is party parrot.
Party
if you have not
parrot.
seen the party parrot emoji, look up Cult of the Party Parrot. It's a wonderful website.
Okay. I didn't know it had a name and a cult. And this is good. Okay.
For programmers that use Slack, the party parrot is a very common emoji that everyone uses.
Oh man. Oh, people look that up. That's really interesting. Okay. Next one.
Also, my phone's being a little weird, but I think the third one is ice cream.
Yep.
The fourth one is a panda.
The fourth one I've got on my screen is the Rebels.
Oh, okay, that's what's not showing up. Yeah,
Star Wars Rebels.
So the fourth one is the Star Wars Rebels symbol.
Okay.
The fifth one is a panda.
Mm-hmm.
6 one's a top hat. 7's a campfire.
Mm-hmm.
8 is water.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
9 is just like a duck, a dumb duck.
A dumb duck, yes. Okay, yes.
10 is like a filing cabinet. 11 is a meatloaf.
Is that what that is? I was trying to figure out what that was. It's a meatloaf, okay.
12 is just the frowny face emoji.
Mm-hmm.
13 is a skunk.
Mm-hmm.
14 is vomiting.
Mm-hmm.
And then 15 is the poo emoji, which we'll explain in a second.
Okay.
So here's my original slot and the reason I set up in this order.
Okay. I'm ready.
Obviously, trying to rank every item in the world is a difficult task.
I don't understand how it could be difficult, but do continue.
Okay. So when I put the cup of water in the middle, it was kind of like, if you remember, like pH scales back in junior high or chemistry.
Yeah.
Water is like neutral.
Yeah.
And then you have things that are more acidic and things that are more basic. Right? My justification, if you think of like ranking a product, right, on Amazon, my justification is like, if it's in the middle, it's a product that you may or may not necessarily like, but it's something that is like needed, or like you don't have a lot of things to compliment it on, or a lot of things to complain about it. You know, so
Okay.
I know you like water, but most people probably don't have a strong opinion about water. It's just like one of those things you just need to drink. You know,
Which is the
you don't really have a preference or
opinion.
dislike for it. You know,
okay.
so that was my justification. But I can see that clearly you may not agree with that reasoning.
My nose is so far in the air right now about how much I disagree with that, but it's okay. It's okay. I can understand. I can understand. I cannot empathize with people who just think, oh, it's just water. It's water.
It's life-giving water.
Exactly. Yeah. It is the thing. It is the single most necessary thing for your human life. And you squander it by mixing it with all sorts of delicious chemicals and curios. And no, just drink the water. It's delicious. Okay.
So other than that disagreement, other thoughts?
I dig the top hat. I think Panda Top Hat in that order is correct. I think that's good. I like Dumb Duck. That's a good. I like that as a name, as well as Party Parrot. I didn't know they had names. In my head, it was Dancing Bird, but now that it's Party Parrot, it's like, okay, yeah, I could see that as a second or third. Probably third underwater, because water should be second. Underneath the mighty sledgehammer. No, you know what? Water transcends this list. That's how I feel about water, but that's okay.
It shouldn't be on the list.
It shouldn't be on the list.
It's too good to be on the list.
You know what? I almost asked you why Meatloaf was so far down, but I think I understand why Meatloaf is so far down. I think it belongs there. Because Meatloaf, it's like delicious. Like, you like meatloaf, but I think meatloaf is kind of disgusting.
Right.
In the way that it is a loaf of meat that you've made. Like, it's kind of gross. And like, it kind of, like, the texture is kind of weird, and
right.
Like, I like it, but it's not, it's better than a frowny face, but it's not, I don't know. I think it should go above Dumb Duck, but
that's fair.
I think if we swap Dumb Duck and Meatloaf,
okay.
maybe I could get on board with that. The Rebels, symbol, I don't know how I feel about that on this list. The rebel scum. No, just kidding.
It's supposed to represent more of, like, for me, that's a fandom, or Lord of the Rings, you know.
Okay.
So it's kind of supposed to represent your given fandom, but obviously not everyone agrees that Star Wars is their fandom, you know.
Right. Or that the Rebels are their fandom, but you know.
You could argue that maybe you could replace it with your favorite fandom.
Okay.
Logo in there.
You should put like a bracket, fandom symbol, close bracket.
Right.
Like,
right.
just kind of whatever. I like that. I dig that. I did. You know what? Yeah, I dig that. Okay, I can dig that. Ice cream as third. Is it better than pandas? I don't know.
See, I knew this is exactly what you were going to do. You were going to sit there and analyze every single pair until you sorted this list, which we do not have time to do on this podcast.
I think your list is very, very. I give it a B. I give it a B plus. I think this is going to be a solid B plus podcast.
So you're saying you'd give it about a ice cream level on
yes,
the scale? The scale itself is about an ice cream level?
Yeah, about ice cream. Like congratulations, like you've earned yourself an ice cream, like ice cream level. Yeah, I take it. It's surpassed. Yes, yeah. I dig it. I like it. That's all I have to say about it. Although I do have to have this pulled up every time we do the podcast now. It is. It's becoming the official ranking system as we speak of the DSW podcast.
I think I like it too. Hopefully this will maybe even give it a better impression on your mind. Is it now not only gives you kind of like different rankings, but it also gives you more expression. Because like a sledgehammer, the mighty sledgehammer is like, this thing is all powerful and nothing will ever beat it, right? Represents power, whereas Party Parrot represents more of like, this is awesome. This is something to be enjoyed. And, and let's party, like, I want to do this again sometime type thing.
Right.
Whereas ice cream's like, this is a pleasurable thing to enjoy, but, it's not like you want it every single moment of every day, right? Like,
right. It'll make you fat. Like,
right.
It's dangerous. It's deadly dangerous in some ways.
Right. So, like, it's something to be enjoyed and pleasurable, but it's also something that needs to be a little bit sparing. So, like, you could think about that in terms of movies. Like, sometimes a movie's an ice cream. Like, you enjoy it, but you only want to watch it every so often, not all the time.
Right, right. You should watch it once every few years if it's a really good movie, so that you don't ruin it like children do. Ruin movies, that is. Right.
Or, like, the top hat. Like, not something that brings you immense amount of pleasure, but you just put it on and you're like, oh, like, that's a nice top hat. That's kind of nice.
It's quality. Nice. It shows class and distinction, and
it's pleasant.
Yeah.
And then you discussed Meatloaf and Dumb Duck. Dumb Duck's kind of like the, why is this here?
Right.
Like, why is this really here? Like it's really needed?
It's entertaining, maybe, but it's just Dumb Duck. Like, come on.
And then the last one that I just felt like needs to be justified and explained is the poo emoji.
Right.
Because I always thought the poo emoji was weird, that it was smiling.
Okay.
Like, and obviously there's a whole set of social media and culture that we can't dive into around it.
Right.
But in my mind, it kind of represents the, like, it's so bad, it's good mentality.
Yes.
Like, have you ever seen the old Street Fighter movie?
No, I have not.
Do you know the old Street Fighter game?
I know of the Street Fighter games, yes.
Person versus person fighter games, right?
Yeah, where you jump around. Hey, jump.
Yeah. Hadouken.
Yeah.
Anyways, super big during the 80s and 90s. And they made a movie in the 90s about Street Fighter. And it is so bad.
Really?
Like, the acting is terrible. The dialogue is so cheesy.
Oof. Okay.
But it's one of those movies I enjoy watching because like you watch it and you know it's going to be so bad that you just kind of enjoy the comedic effect of it being so terrible.
Yeah.
So I think there's like a set of movies and products that fit in that category of like, go into this knowing it's the worst thing ever and you'll actually love it.
Okay. No, I agree. This is something commonly known to many Tims as the Maryland point. It's the Maryland point, but on for Das W of like, it's so bad it's good. I love it.
On the Hello Internet podcast, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I can see that.
I agree, and that's why it's smiling. That's why the poops is smiling. I like it.
But you see, that's something that at a regular scale of 5 stars is never going to show properly, because Street Fighter probably has 10% on Rotten Tomatoes and 1 star.
yeah.
In the actual rating. But for someone that actually knows that culture, would actually know that secretly that's an amazing movie to watch because it's super funny, because it's so bad.
Right.
But you'll never be able to explain that with just stars. So that's where this scale shines.
I agree 100%. I never considered it. Until I was looking at this list. But it does give you a lot of flexibility in truly expressing exactly how you feel. Because a cold, heartless number doesn't tell you all that the panda bear tells you. It's just
right.
I love it. It's perfect. I will pull this up every time we do the podcast. and try to memorize it maybe.
Okay. And I mean, I'm open to modification, but I also say that knowing that if I allow you to try and modify it, you might spend hours truly looking within yourself on what it means to you.
Oh yeah. I will think about this and I will mutter about it at work. That's the thing I do when I have something on my mind is I mutter about it. I will just mutter about it all day for many weeks.
And for now, maybe the only modification we really need to do is just remove water from that.
I think we remove water.
Maybe Dumb Duck is a good middle part of the why is this here ground of the rating scale.
That's fair. I think we can find another water though. Another water I think is necessary. Because I agree with your sentiment about water, but I can't have water be the 8th thing on my list because
there's too much passion in there.
Exactly. Everything else I feel pretty dispassionate about. Maybe not meatloaf. Meatloaf, man, that meatloaf emoji is really like, that's a gross meatloaf emoji, but like, It does the job. It does the job exactly how I wanted it to. I like it. Good job, David. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for doing this. I can't believe you did it. I was I'm eternally grateful for this.
I can just can see you now at the cabinet shop, just like whispering under your breath, okay, Party Parrot, then ice cream, then fandom, or then panda.
right. Do the fandom one, that's another one that I have a hard time with. It's weird having it on the scale because it's like, but a fandom is something complete. It's like kind of like water where it starts to transcend the scale itself.
Right.
Where I'm like, but the fandom is, I rank it as a sledgehammer. Like this is a sledgehammer kind of thing.
Right. But again, kind of my reasoning was like, you kind of get loyalty to certain products.
Okay.
So maybe when you put the fandom, it's like, I wouldn't buy anything else but this. It may not be your favorite thing in the world of that, like maybe it's, the type of car wash cleaner that you buy or whatever. And it's like, this is my favorite one and I won't never buy anything else, but that doesn't mean you love car wash cleaner.
Right. Okay.
It's just like, this is my car wash cleaner of choice. This is my fandom of this product. So that was my reasoning, but
I know that with that reasoning in mind, I accept it wholly because the more I think about it, the more I'm like, oh yeah, there is some weird stuff with fandom nonsense where it's like kind of like why am I tied to these people in some cases where you're like, why are you doing that? Like I just like the movie. I'm not weird about it. Like, ew. But yeah. But it's still a good thing. Like, you're still happy to be part of it. It's still a group that you can share your feelings with and enjoy stuff with. So I like it.
Right. Anyway, so take some time, ponder on that. And if you feel like we need to make a modification, let me know. Okay. Maybe we can discuss that more.
We can discuss it more. He says, I can't, you can't ever relinquish the full control of the list to me. Don't do that. That's a bad idea. That'll end poorly for both of us. But
I can see us just forming a separate show, a separate podcast that's just us discussing the ordering of the scale.
We could do that. We could do that as part of this show, Dave. I love so much the idea of debating positions of things on a scale of nonsense. This sounds like the joyous thing of my life. Yeah.
I was trying to suggest that as a completely ridiculous idea, but
yeah,
I now realize the error I just made.
It is grave. Yes, this sounds like a fabulous idea. I don't know why you would suggest that as silliness. I am all for it. That's a great idea, David. Good call.
The things I have to be careful that I say on this podcast.
Yes, you do. This is yes. You'll never know. I'm like water. You never know what I'm gonna do, except for when you do know what I'm gonna do.
Well, I'm looking forward to your future thoughts. But for sake of time, we're running low on time.
Indeed.
I want to throw one more idea at you.
Okay.
And something that's been on my mind for actually like over a year now.
Ooh, okay.
Fortunately, when you teach, you repeat your life essentially every year because you teach the same things on a cycle.
It's about to get Groundhog Day all up in this podcast.
Well, it's just ironic because the thing I was thinking about last year has now come back up in the schedule of teaching. So it actually works out perfectly. So
Perfect. I'm excellent.
I want to talk to you about something that is something that I find really interesting about teaching and learning that I have a really hard time teaching students, especially junior high and high school students.
Okay.
Okay. Are you familiar with the term metacognition?
I feel like I'm knowledgeable enough to guess what it means, but not smart enough to know what it actually means.
So in layman's terms, it's just like thinking about the way you think. That's how I describe it.
Oh, like, okay.
Understanding how you think about a thing.
Right. It's meta, like, because it's some meta. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think I get it.
The level above your cognition, right?
Right. You're
how
analyzing.
Does your cognition work?
Right. The cognition. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm on board for this. Okay.
So like, for example, like, well, actually, we just did it with the scales. That's a perfect example. Like, I thought water should be in the middle because of such and such and such, and you thought water should be near the top because of such and such and such, right? We have our separate opinions, but we have an understanding of why we rate things highly and why we hold certain opinions.
Okay, yeah.
And I didn't realize until teaching last year when I taught a computer science class to some ninth graders that students, younger students especially, can be really bad at understanding, first of all, why they hold certain opinions, but secondly, just understanding how they think in general, why they think about certain things or why they hold those opinions or how they solve certain problems.
Huh, really?
So the example I give is what I call the elevator problem.
Okay.
So I sent you a video.
Yeah.
And I'll put this in the show notes. I want you to watch kind of the first minute and a half of that really quickly right now.
Okay.
And it'll tell you to stop the video. And when it says stop the video, stop that and we'll come back.
Video. Got it. Okay.
Let me just summarize for people that can't watch the video right now. The question is, if you have a whole bunch of people lining up to go on an elevator, and there's only one elevator, and they all have to go to different floors, what's the best way to gather those people together so the elevator travels the least number of floors? Okay, so in the hypothetical example, they can only go 3 at a time. Okay, so Aaron, if you were solving this problem, what steps would you take to try and get the number of floors traveled as small as possible?
So, the number, so the metric is number of floors traveled, just how many it passes?
Yes.
Okay.
So if someone goes up to floor 20 and then someone goes up to floor 25, that's not any extra floors. It's just 25 floors total, right? It didn't matter that I had to stop at floor 20. If it goes up to floor 25 and then comes back down, that's only 50 floors. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So dropping people off along the way doesn't count against you.
Okay. Ooh, that does change my thoughts on this maybe a tiny bit. Well, obviously you want to go to the top as few number of times as possible, because that's how you're going to cover the most number of floors. So the fewer number of times you can do that, the better. So it would be best. Well, my first thought is that you should group them into groups of descending order, starting at the largest number, so that you can get the highest numbers out of the way first. Because the elevator can only take 3 people, so you start with the highest floor, and you do everyone on the way to everyone at the highest level first, and work your way down. That makes sense to me.
Okay.
I'd want to try it out a bunch of times, but that's my first thought in how I would want to group them.
So rather than actually focusing on the solution.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, the solution itself is interesting, but just notice what you just did there, right?
Uh-huh.
This is the metacognition part that I was talking about.
Okay.
You're able to talk through that you want to get people up out of the top floors as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And you want to group them in certain ways, right?
Yeah.
Even the fact that you're talking about that even though it is slightly off, but we'll get to that.
What?
But the fact that you can get to that point is showing that you can think about your own thinking of how you're solving the problem.
Okay.
The thing that is so surprising to me is when I talk to students about this, and I keep saying students, but really there's a lot of people I talk to about this, and it surprises me that they can't do something like this. The metacognition part.
Right.
But when I talk to students, it's so hard for them to describe why they're doing the things they're doing. And that's the part that shocks me. So the other link I sent you, and that I'll put in the show notes, is a little simulation where you can actually click on the people and send them up the elevator and down.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so you can like try and get a number.
Yeah.
And like when I've talked to students that are going through that, they'll just like click on random people and they'll just like group random people. I'm like, why did you group them that way? You know, and they can't explain it, you know?
Huh. Okay, yeah.
And so it's just so fascinating to me that it's difficult for people to explain their own reasoning for their own thoughts. Okay? And that's what I want to discuss.
Okay.
So to answer your question, you were really close. You actually want to flip it so the smallest numbers go first, because the trip that goes on the last group only has to go up.
Oh.
So you want the highest floors to be last.
Got it.
Because they only have to do an upwards trip and not a downwards. So that's kind of the little secret that you have to keep in mind. You can watch that full video later if you want.
Yes, I do want.
And yes, that is my own video. I kind of have had this dream to start a YouTube channel for a long time, doing videos like that. There's only one video on that channel right now. It's that one.
Oh,
but
okay.
Maybe later I'll get more videos on there. But I've always thought explaining problems would be a fun YouTube channel.
I am going to go subscribe right now so that I get more information about this stuff, because this is good times.
This is a problem I want to bring to you, the metacognition. Like, how do you get people to explain why they think about things the way they do, especially with like opinions? Like when someone says, well, that thing's awful, or that thing's amazing. Sometimes I find it really hard for people to just explain their feelings about it and like why they like something, or, you know, like they're just like, well, just because it's amazing. Like, can't you see, you know, like it's the most amazing thing ever.
Right.
So I'm just always surprised that people don't have that ability. So like, is there a way that we can solve this problem? Like, how do you teach someone that? Because if you can let me know, that'd be great. Because I need to teach it next week. So
Well, you need to teach it next week. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'll get cracking on this. Whew. This is quite the problem. Hey, could I be a guest speaker in your class? Ooh, that'd be fun. Ooh, that would be fun. Ooh, that would be fun.
Yes, please. Especially if you know how to do this, because that'd be really helpful.
I probably don't know how to do it, but I can start thinking of ways to do it. Let me think. I don't know. It weirds me out that other people can't do that, because that's literally all I do all day is think about things and think about why I think those things and continue to think that way.
Well, I was just going to say, I think part of the reason why it's easier for us is we both have more technical jobs. Like,
okay,
when you're building a cabinet, you have to be very specific about the design and the layout and what you're going to do next, and the planning, and you know, and obviously with programming, that's basically your job, is to think about problems on a high level. So obviously in our context, it makes more sense, but I am still surprised that this is a skill that even other disciplines don't have, because it seems like you should, at some level, be able to do that. Right.
It feels very natural to me to just kind of know those things and to just kind of do that. Like, I'm having a really hard time getting started because I have so many thoughts bumping around.
And that's good. That's good.
So much like loose information that's like, I feel like what we've done is we've taken and we've just like scattered a bunch of papers all around the room. And I'm like, okay, there's answers here. Like, I'm going to find them. And so I start poking through them. I think it's interesting that you mentioned that, like, we both have very technical, like, we do technical jobs, and I've dabbled in computer science and computer programming, and it very much is designing a system to deal with different things and understanding how a computer thinks and how to teach a computer how to think.
Right.
and then on top of that, like, you're a teacher, you're trying to teach people how to think about stuff. Like, your whole job is to almost to teach metacognition. Like if they could get some way of understanding their own thoughts and to think about the way things work, then they'd get it. You know.
Right. Well, computer science is like 95% abstraction.
Mm-hmm.
You know, going one level up from the current example to a general example,
Right.
You're constantly abstracting away information to a higher description of the problem.
Right. It's so... Okay, here's my theory. One thing that I personally have been thinking a lot about and trying to work on a lot is understanding other people. In the current political climate and the current world climate, it's very interesting to see such tribalistic lines drawn between all parties, and to have such seemingly what you would think is a more complicated situation be simplified down into a case for a certain side or a certain party. And I have a really hard time with that, because it's the example that's always used is driving. Like, you're driving down the road and someone cuts you off, and your first thought is, oh, they're a jerk. They're just a mean old jerk. They come cruising past, or they flash their brights at you, or they flip you off or something. And they're just a mean old person. They're just being a jerk, or they're just being dumb, or whatever.
Right.
But that is the reactionary level, and then there is a further level of stepping back on every single problem and trying to understand what actually is going on. I'm talking about it in such general terms because I don't have specific examples in my head, but it's that method of stepping back. Again, metacognition, stepping back and looking at the way you think yourself. I do that a lot, where I step back and I say, well, why did this happen? Why is this person acting like this? Why is this person acting like a selfish jerk? Or why were they mean? Or why would they say that? Why would somebody say that? Why would somebody do that?
You start looking back at their experience and their background and try to gather more information of their life to try and answer those questions. Right.
It's kind of like, perfect example, it's kind of like Edison, where, like, at first he's a hero, and then you find out a little bit more, and then he's a villain, and then you find out a little bit more, and then you're like, oh, maybe he was just a guy who got kind of bitter near the end. Maybe he got kind of bitter about stuff, or maybe he got really frustrated and desperate.
Right.
To try and fix other things. It's this process of not just accepting things for the reactionary level that you first experienced them on, but also stepping back and saying, why did they do that? Why would somebody do these kinds of things? And I feel like personally it's been helping me, like, thinking this way helps me tap into a lot of sympathy and a lot of stepping in other people's shoes. And I feel like child me, and probably younger, not younger people, but just, like, it's a hard thing to do, and it takes me a lot of time and a lot of work.
You have to be intentional about it.
Right. You have to...
Which is kind of my next point that I wanted to bring up, which is something I find closely connected to metacognition.
Okay.
Is intentionalism. At least, I don't know if that's a word, but that's what I call it. Like,
yeah, I like it.
I'm also surprised that I generally find that those people that also have a hard time of explaining, why they're doing something, also go with the flow a lot more.
Okay.
Like, they're generally more... I don't know how to say this. I don't want to say that they're just like followers, because that's kind of a derogatory term.
Yeah.
But I'm just often surprised that they're... For someone like me who has a clear directive of everything I want to accomplish in the next few months, in the next year, and then this is what I want to do, and this is where I want to go, right? I've always had very clear goals and intent of how I live my life and what I do every day and what I want to achieve. I often find that people that struggle with metacognition do not have that same intentional behavior of, this is the next thing I want to do. Right. This is the next steps I want to take. Students-wise, there's students that are often more like, oh, I'll take that class, or I'll take that class. Sure, I'll do that, or I'll go try that out, or whatever it may be.
Yeah. It's just
And they're not usually the ones that are like, I want to do art, or I want to do English, or I want to do math.
Yeah.
They're much more open and exploratory, which again kind of contradicts my my general behavior.
Yeah,
which is also probably why it's harder for me to understand them. But I also find that just interesting, that metacognition and kind of goal-driven intentionalism are often connected, at least in my experience.
Okay, that's interesting. I want to say I agree. Like, just because that sounds also like my thoughts, as my thoughts are coalescing on this matter. Obviously, you've thought about this a lot, and so it's really, I'm trying to also grab my thoughts and wrangle them up really fast. But intentional is a word that does come back to me in this context of, I don't know, it makes it easier to see what you're doing and why you're doing it if you're doing something intentionally.
Right.
Like, oh, I am eating this ice cream. I was like, why are you eating this ice cream? Because there's ice cream. Like, no, I am eating this ice cream because I went to the store and I bought myself a pint because I wanted some Ben and Jerry's. Like, I just needed it because I love the flavor of Ben and Jerry's. And I keep coming back to them because this flavor is one that I haven't experienced anywhere else. Like, whoa, that was a lot of information. But are we like metacognitioning right now? Like, this is hurting my brain a little bit.
We just abstracted another level up. I think we did. I think we're over level 9,000 right now. But
well, but it has to be connected to intentionalism in some way, because like you say, like if you're just free floating, like if you just don't care what happens, of course you're not going to be analyzing. And I don't know, I feel like a lot of my analysis comes from my efforts to develop systems and change behaviors, develop systems to help me change behaviors.
Right.
Because there's things that I do, for a good example, there's something that happens that annoys me. And so I have to step back and say, well, why does this keep happening? How can we keep messing this up?
Right.
It happens every job, and there has to be a way to fix it. And the only way to fix it is to analyze what's going on and then to attack the obvious things that are causing that problem.
Right.
And if you don't do that,
I think you need to be a guest speaker for my class, Aaron, because I think this is kind of the whole point I want to make, is because, again, it's a computer science class, so it's, a lot of these students aren't going to become computer scientists. So it's like, why do we need to worry about developing algorithms or all this stuff? And it's like, it's not the algorithms that matters.
Right.
Like, it's the metacognition level of understanding how to develop systems, like you said, to make things better. I just thought about it, but like when I think of systems for changing behavior, I think of like how I make my own priority lists. Talk about metacognition combined with intentionalism, right? Like,
right, yeah.
One of the ways I'm intentional about my life is the way I make my to-do lists every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we need to ponder on this more and come back to it next time. But I just think, because, obviously I'm going to have gripes with someone that is free-flowing when I'm this goal-driven, passionate person, right?
Right. And logical. Don't forget logical.
Right. Everything needs logic with it. What are you talking about? But I still think, even if you're not a crazy workaholic like me,
mm-hmm.
that these are still things you have to develop to be successful in life and really to be happy in life. I think if you never learn how and why you do things and learn the skill of doing things that will make you better and that lead to goals and being intentional about what you do each day,
mm-hmm.
then you will not go down a path that will be good for you. I think that's true no matter what. Even if you're not the same crazy, technical, logical robot that I am.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have some level of that, I think you're going to not be generally happy with how things turn out. Because you'll never be able to, like you said, even just simple relationships with people.
Yeah.
If you can't understand where things are going wrong and what intentional actions you need to take to fix that. If you can't think on a metacognition level and associate that with actions that need to be taken, then you'll never, be able to develop strong relationships and do a whole bunch of other things that make life pleasant,
Right. Well, and I think it inhibits your ability to have sympathy for others, which I find, I don't know, I've been finding that to be a very important thing to have and to understand, is that, I don't know, if you're not thinking about how you think about things, and if you're not thinking about how other people think about things, then you're just kind of assuming things, and those assumptions are probably never right.
Right.
And they're not, I assume they're not often positive, especially when it's an opposing point of view. It's just like how you explained to me why you thought about water, why you placed water the way you did. And we can, understanding why we did that and the reason why we have these two differing opinions helps us come to an understanding of one another.
Right.
Which we wouldn't have come to it if I had been like, just take it off the list. And you'd been like, well, but it belongs in the middle. It is the great equalizer. And I'd be like, it is above all. Like, get it out of here.
We just get a full-blown yelling contest on the podcast. You're an idiot. What are you thinking?
Oh, man. That would be... You know what? I have long dreamt about getting in a proper shouting match, but I never do, because I get, I don't surround myself with people to shout at, because why would I shout at you? And B, like, I also don't want to shout that much, but it sounds like so much fun to get in a proper good word fight,
You would yell at them, and then you'd start giggling, because you'd be so happy.
And they'd be like, what? And I'd be like, no, keep going. I'm having fun. Don't worry. Then I might get punched. I don't want to get in a physical fight, just a words fight.
That's kind of funny, because I want to get in a physical fight, I think. Well, I do karate, so I've always wanted to secretly get in a real fight, just to
man, yeah,
see how good I really am, because you never know if you're actually as good as you think you are in karate.
Right.
Until you're in the street, So
yeah, until you're either whooping or getting.
So you can get in a verbal fight with somebody, and then I'll switch you for the physical fight once it starts.
Yes. Oh, that sounds...
Tag team.
Oh, yeah, we'd be the unstoppable duo. That sounds great. Oh, and I'd just be laughing the whole time. Oh, that sounds great. Oh, that sounds like fun. Although, I will be honest, I have thought many times very deeply about considering trying to get into some sort of debate, something or other. To be
like a debate team or a debate club.
Yeah, to get some debate in, because a true intellectual debate is always interesting.
See, I don't know, I can't do that. It drives me crazy, because maybe this is a sign that I don't have enough sympathy and metacognition, that I'm always just analyzing the counter arguments and going, that's the dumbest counter argument. That's just not true. You're just being ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's fair.
I guess to be fair, though, I guess I'm not thinking of formal academic debates. Those are much more civil and much more
right.
I'm thinking more like dumb politics.
Yeah, no, that's
not the same.
I wish it was the same. I still do wish it was the same, but it is at present not the same. No, yeah, I'm not. I'm thinking purely like these academic debates of just
like a formal academic debate.
Yes.
All right. If you ever do that, let me know.
Okay.
I'll give it a shot with you. I'll be your right hand man on that, just in case a physical fight breaks out.
Wait.
Oh. Are you there?
Oh, I'm here. Yep. We're good.
Sorry. You dropped out again.
Aha. Well, yeah. I
dropped out. I don't know.
I was going to say you dropped out, but then I guess both of us could have dropped out. It doesn't really matter.
I was going to say, let's practice our sympathy here, because said on my screen that you dropped.
Or we
but-
could practice our word debates and our shouting match. You know what? You dropped off of my screen. I was there the whole time, David. Where were you? Just off and gallivanting about in the digital realms.
You want to fight? You want to fight? I'll give you a fight.
Oh man, I'd be scared. I'd be scared to get in a real good word fight with you. I think I'd be too scared. I'd be scared of you whooping me. I think that's how it is. I think that's how it be. I'm glad we're friends and not arch nemesis or anything. Arch enemies. What does that word even mean?
So arch is associated with like the supreme or most.
Oh, okay.
The archangel Michael
Oh,
in the Bible, or
okay.
I guess it's archangel. Anyways,
Yeah.
arch, that means like most or highest. So your arch enemy is your most enemy, if you will.
Got it. I'm glad we're not arch enemies because I would probably lose. Just for the record.
I was just saying though that before we cut out that if you do join a debate club or something, let me know and I'll join you. Just so in case a fight breaks out, I can be there ready to knock in some heads. You know?
Oh man, you're like my undercover bodyguard. Yes. Okay. Oh man, I'd try to start a fight just for that, just to see you in action, man. That would be fun. Oh, I'd be like, what? You want to fight?
You go into a meeting, you just start throwing bricks at people just to get them like super angry.
You want to fight? Let's go. Let's duke it out. And then like suddenly David. Oh yeah.
Jump over the podium into the center of the arena.
Strike down 1,000 foes. Yes. And then we'd win the debate because the foes would be stricken down. Yes.
And then we'd never be invited back.
Yes. They'd give us the medal.
Probably arrested, but
And probably arrested. We'll deal with that after the fight. The fight's the most important part. That's the part that I care about. Wait, so what are we talking about? Metacognition, intentionalism. Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm back. I don't have anything more to say. I feel like my words are so jumbled and I'm so long-winded because I've never considered having to talk about this before because I've never thought about it before.
right.
I've like never considered that other people don't have this ability to just be like, why don't you understand how to solve problems and how to solve your own brain problems? Like, obviously, like, okay, here's another good example of, I guess, of my metacognition, question mark, is that I know that the thing to do with treats in my house is to hide them. Okay, this is a solution that I have developed based on the simple fact that if the treat sits out, I continue to eat it no matter what. There's no way to stop me from eating it if it's just lying about. But if I stuff it into a cabinet or into a drawer, I think about it less and I eat it less.
Right.
Metacognition at its finest. Solutions based on metacognition.
There you go. Maybe I'll just give that example to my students and then they'll be good.
Maybe they'll finally get it. Everyone loves treats. I mean, who doesn't love treats?
I still think it'd be more effective if you came though and was a guest lecturer.
You know,
I'll see if I can arrange that.
I would love that. I would love that. I would prepare as much as possible for that momentous occasion, just so that I didn't look like an idiot in front of a classroom full of kids.
Anyways, so I think we're out of time. But
Indeed.
Maybe ponder on that. And if you have any more thoughts on that between now and next time, let me know.
Okay. We'll do. 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 We'll do.